Take a deep breath. Open your heart. Cleanse your mind and receive today's scripture. You are never alone. God's presence is always here.
Welcome back, everyone. We love to take these journeys into really fascinating parts of Scripture, and today we're going to be looking at 2 Corinthians 6.14.
Absolutely.
It's one that we hear quoted a lot, right, about being unequally yoked with unbelievers, and it uses this really powerful imagery of light and darkness to kind of contrast these ways of living.
Right.
And so, we want to approach this, I guess, with a lot of sensitivity because it can be a really sensitive topic. But we also want to dive into the real meaning of this passage, right? And how does this apply to not just, romantic relationships, which is often where we hear to lie, but all kinds of relationships in our lives.
Absolutely.
And what can we as listeners glean from this passage for our own personal journeys and our own walk with God?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's such a good point. And I think it is important to dive into this passage with sensitivity and grace. But I also think it's a really rich passage full of a lot of symbolism and beautiful imagery that we can learn from.
Totally. And so let's start with that central image, right? The yoke.
Yeah.
What is the significance of using that metaphor?
Well, if you think about a yoke, it's used to join two oxen together, right? To work together in the field. And so they're, kind of side by side, pulling together. They're sharing the burden and the labor. And I think that that's such a powerful picture of what a true relationship should be like, where two people are joined together and they're working together towards a common goal.
Yeah, that really brings it to life. Like, you can really picture it.
Yeah.
And it emphasizes the point that it's not just about, casual relationships, right? Or people that you just kind of see every now and then. It's about those relationships where your lives are really intertwined and you are pulling together towards a shared goal. And
I think that that's where this concept of spiritual alignment, or I guess you could say misalignment, becomes really crucial, because the passage goes on to use this very strong language, contrasting righteousness and wickedness.
Right. And those are pretty loaded terms, right? When we hear righteousness and wickedness.
Yeah.
What is it that the source is really getting at when it uses that word righteousness?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that it's not talking about some unattainable state of moral perfection.
Right.
But it's really about aligning your life with God's values, striving to live in a way that reflects his teachings and his character.
So it's more about the direction you're facing or the path you're choosing.
Exactly.
Than it is about, having checked off all of the right boxes or something like that.
Right. And I think that makes sense when you think about the yoke imagery, because if you're yoked with someone who's pouring in a completely different direction than you, it's going to create a lot of friction and tension in that relationship.
Right. Like you're going to be at odds with each other constantly.
Exactly.
And the source warns that, this kind of spiritual misalignment can really lead to a sense of imbalance.
Yeah.
In the relationship.
Yeah.
And can cause a lot of issues. And like just think about it practically.
Yeah.
If you're trying to build a life that's grounded in your faith and your partner prioritizes, material success above all else, that's going to lead to arguments. It's going to lead to conflict about how to, raise your kids, how to spend your time and money.
Yeah, absolutely. It plays out in so many practical ways. And I think, it's not just about, abstract theological differences. It really does affect the day-to-day fabric of your relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And the source goes on to say that, when you are unified in your faith, when you have that shared faith, it can be such a powerful force for unity in a relationship.
Yeah, it's like having a teammate.
Yeah.
In your spiritual journey, someone to to encourage you and challenge you and help you to stay grounded.
Yeah, it's that accountability partner, right?
Absolutely.
But I think it's important to clarify here that the passage isn't saying, that we should isolate ourselves from everyone who doesn't share our beliefs.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really important point. We're called to love our neighbor as ourselves and to be a light in the world.
Yeah.
So it's not about, building walls and shutting people out, but it's more about discernment.
Yeah.
Choosing our relationships wisely and setting healthy boundaries to protect our faith.
So how do we do that?
Yeah, that's a great question.
What does it look like to set those boundaries?
Well, I think it really depends on the specific relationship and the situation.
Mm-hmm.
It could involve, limiting certain activities that conflict with your faith, or, being cautious about sharing, really deeply personal struggles with someone who might not understand, or even, choosing not to enter into certain types of relationships if you sense that they might, pull you away from your values.
So it's about being intentional and recognizing that not every relationship needs to have the same level of intimacy.
Exactly.
Or influence.
Yeah.
Right.
It's about prioritizing those connections that really support your spiritual growth.
So as we kind of come to a close here, what's the biggest takeaway that you hope that our listeners are walking away with from this deep dive?
Well, I hope that they feel empowered to really examine their relationships through this lens of shared values and spiritual alignment.
Yeah.
Are the people closest to you pulling you closer to your faith, or are they pulling you in a different direction?
Yeah, that's such a good question for all of us to consider. And as you go about your day, think about the people that you're spending time with and do their values and priorities resonate with the kind of life that you want to live.
Yeah.
And if not, what steps can you take to create healthier, more aligned connections in your life?
That's good.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
This was good.
Yeah, I enjoyed this.